The courtroom hums with quiet conversation. The heavy wooden doors creak as Maya Turner steps inside, her heels clicking against the polished marble floor. She takes in the grandeur, the towering columns, the dark wood paneling, the weight of history pressing down on her. She has been here before too many times, but today the stakes feel heavier. Judge Whitman, glancing up from his notes, barely acknowledging her presence. "Ah, Miss Turner, let's try to keep this brief. We all know how these things tend to go." A murmur ripples through the courtroom, amusement from some, unease from others. Maya stiffens but keeps her expression composed. Maya: "Of course, Your Honor. I'll be as brief as justice allows." Whitman scoffs, adjusting his glasses. "Judge Whitman, justice, is it? That's ambitious." Maya walks to the counsel's table, placing her files down with deliberate precision. She does not rush. She does not shrink. She has fought for this seat at the table, and she will not let Whitman's dismissive tone dictate her presence. The prosecution lawyer stands, giving a lazy smirk, flipping through his papers as if this is already decided. Prosecutor: "Your Honor, I assume we're all in agreement here. The evidence is clear, the conviction stands. The defense's motion is simply a formality, one we can put to rest quickly." Whitman nods, already leaning forward as if preparing to rule. "Judge Whitman, Miss Turner, I assume you'll be making an argument against common sense?" Maya does not flinch. She meets his gaze and takes a slow, measured breath. Maya: "Actually, Your Honor, I'll be making an argument against injustice. If that's considered unreasonable, I'll gladly be unreasonable." The room stiffens. A few spectators exchange glances. Whitman frowns, his grip tightening on his gavel. "Judge Whitman, fine. You've got 5 minutes." Maya opens her file, scanning the room. She catches her client's eyes. Hope, exhaustion, fear. She knows what this moment means to him. She will not let him down. Maya: "The case before you is not just about my client. It is about a system that assumes guilt before innocence, that punishes a man for the color of his skin rather than the content of his case file. It is about a conviction based on flawed evidence and unchecked bias, one that, if upheld today, reinforces that same bias." Whitman raises a brow, unimpressed. The prosecutor smirks, flipping through papers as if disinterested. "Judge Whitman, so now the system is on trial?" "Interesting approach, Ms. Turner. Maya. Your Honor, the system is always on trial. The question is whether we choose to acknowledge it." A hush falls over the courtroom. Even those who would mock her find themselves listening. "I suppose you have. A compelling revelation that will overturn an entire jury's decision." "Maya, actually, Your Honor, I do. The forensic evidence used to convict my client has been discredited by the very lab that conducted it. The prosecution failed to disclose this information, an omission that at best is negligence and at worst is intentional misconduct." A ripple of murmurs spreads through the room. The prosecutor stiffens, his smirk fading. Prosecutor, quickly defensive: "This is highly irregular." Maya, cutting in, unwavering: "No, what's irregular is my client serving years in prison for a crime he did not commit while the real perpetrator walks free." Whitman shifts, his jaw tightening. His expression remains cold, but the weight of the revelation is undeniable. Judge Whitman, gruffly, trying to mask discomfort: "I'll need time to review the documents." Maya, soft but firm: "Justice delayed is justice denied, Your Honor." My client has waited long enough. A tense beat. Whitman hesitates, caught between his own bias and the undeniable facts before him. Maya watches him carefully. She sees the wheels turning, the realization creeping into his expression. He has lost control of this case, and he knows it. Judge Whitman, finally, curtly: "I'll issue my ruling after recess." Maya exhales, but only slightly. She knows this fight isn't over yet. As she turns to take her seat, she catches the eye of her client. He nods. A silent message: "Thank you." The courthouse corridors feel tighter than usual. Maya Turner walks through them with her head high, but the weight of the unspoken judgment lingers in the air. She catches the glances, some colleagues offering brief nods of sympathy, others smirking as if waiting for her inevitable fall. The ones who whisper don't bother to lower their voices. Lawyer 1, smirking under his breath. She should know. Better than to go up against Whitman. That was career suicide. Lawyer 2, chuckling, shaking his head. Ambition is a hell of a thing. Let her learn the hard way. Maya doesn't react. She has learned not to. Their words are nothing new. She has fought these battles before, just never this publicly. As she steps into her office, her fingers tremble slightly against the door handle. The moment it shuts behind her, she exhales sharply, trying to steady herself. The ghosts of a career built on fighting back. She closes her eyes. The memories hit like a wave, every moment that led to this one. Her first job interview at a prestigious law firm, where the senior partner glanced at her resume and asked if she was applying for a paralegal position instead. The moment she won her first case, only to have the opposing counsel congratulate her male colleague instead. Her first argument before a judge who looked at her like an intruder in his courtroom. The professor at law school who once told her, "You have the passion, Miss Turner, but the law is not kind to women like you." She clenches her jaw, forcing herself back to the present. Those battles didn't break her. This one won't either. Whitman's final insult. Back in the courtroom, she stands tall, prepared for round 2. But she sees it in Whitman's face. He isn't just dismissing her case, he's dismissing her. Judge Whitman, smug, leaning back in his chair. "Ms. Turner, your argument is, well, let's call it ambitious. I admire your perseverance, truly." Pauses, lets the smirk settle in. "Maybe next time stick to cases you can actually win." Laughter spreads through the courtroom. Maya's fingers tighten around the edge of the counsel's table. She wills herself to stay still, to keep her face unreadable. She catches her client's eyes. He looks away, ashamed. He sees what she sees. The system isn't just against him, it's against her too. Maya exhales slowly, deliberately. She straightens her shoulders and gathers her files with precision. She will not crumble, not here, not in front of him. Warning from within. As she steps out of the courtroom, a soft voice calls her name. She turns. A court clerk, a woman she barely knows, pulls her aside, glancing over her shoulder before speaking. "Court clerk," low voice, urgent. "You need to be careful. Whitman has a habit of ruining lawyers who challenge him." Maya stiffens. She knows. This, of course, but hearing it out loud makes it real in a way she wasn't prepared for. Maya, quiet, steady. "I appreciate the warning." Court clerk hesitates, then softer. "You're too good for this place. Just and don't let them break you." Maya watches the clerk walk away. Her pulse pounds in her ears. The weight of the warning settles on her chest. She swallows hard and heads back to her office. The war between doubt and determination, the office, is silent, too silent. She sits at her desk staring at the blank legal pad in front of her. But all she hears is Whitman's voice, his laughter, the whispers in the hallway. "Maybe next time stick to cases you can actually win." Her fingers curl into fists. A dangerous thought lingers. Maybe she should let this one go. She closes her eyes, allowing herself one moment of doubt, then she forces it away. A mentor's call that changes everything. Her phone rings. She almost doesn't answer, but when she sees the name on the screen, she picks up immediately. Maya, tired but trying to sound composed. "Judge Reese, it's good to hear from you." Judge Reese, warm but direct. "I just got off a call, Maya. You need to hear this." Maya sits up straight. The urgency in Reese's voice cuts through the exhaustion. "Judge Reese, measured, deliberate. Whitman is being forced into retirement." Silence. For the first time all day, Maya is speechless. Maya, blinking, slow realization. "Say that again." Judge Reese chuckles lightly. "You heard me. His conduct, his rulings, his bias, it's finally caught up with him." Maya grips the phone tighter. Her heart is racing now, not with fear, but with something else, something she hasn't felt all day, the truth she never saw coming. Judge Reese, pausing, then the real bombshell. "And guess what? They're looking for his replacement." Maya barely breathes. Judge Reese, gentle, firm. "You're at the top of the list, Maya." The words settle, heavy and unreal. Maya presses a hand to her forehead, letting them sink in. Maya, soft in disbelief. I'm at the top of the list, Judge Reese, smiling through the phone. They'd be fools not to pick you. The weight of this moment. Maya exhales slowly. The room around her feels different now. Everything shifts. She looks around her office. The case. Files, the years of work, the battles she has fought. For the first time in days, she allows herself to smile. Maya, whispering to herself, resolute, this is bigger than him, bigger than me. And for the first time, she knows. She isn't just winning a battle, she's changing the system itself. Maya. Turner walks back into the courtroom, her steps measured, her presence commanding. The usual whispers start, but today she doesn't hear them. She isn't just here to argue a case. She's here to reclaim her space. The moment she reaches the counsel's table, she feels them watching, expecting the same tired cycle. But today is different. Today, Maya Turner does not play defense. Today, she leads. The same old tactics. The same old Whitman. Judge Samuel Whitman barely looks up as she begins. His pen taps lazily against the bench, as if he's already dismissed her argument before it starts. Judge Whitman, smirking, interrupting as she speaks. Ms. Turner, I assume you'll be presenting another passionate plea. There it is. The condescension, the barely veiled insult, the expectation that she will shrink under his authority. Maya doesn't flinch. She doesn't rush. She meets his gaze and lets the silence settle just long enough to make him uncomfortable. Maya, calm, deliberate. No, Your Honor, I'll be presenting facts, but if passion is what makes me a threat in this courtroom, I'll consider that a compliment. A murmur ripples through the courtroom. Whitman's smirk falters, but he quickly masks it. Judge Whitman, clearing his throat, shifting in his seat. Very well. Proceed, though I'd advise against wasting the court's time. Maya nods, suppressing a knowing smile. He is the one who doesn't know he's running out of time. A presence that changes the air. In the back of the courtroom, a row of high-ranking officials sit quietly. They do not react, they do not interrupt, but their presence is impossible to ignore. Whitman barely glances at them, assuming their visit has nothing to do with him. The whispered conversation that changes everything, the case concludes, and the courtroom begins to clear. But as Whitman gathers his notes, he hears something, just a few feet away, spoken in hushed but urgent tones. Official 1, whispering, impressed, she's sharp, unshakable, exactly what we need. Official 2, nodding. Governor's office is already considering her. She's the perfect choice for the next judge. Whitman freezes mid-motion. The words strike like a gavel. Judge Whitman, stiffening, voice quiet. What did you just say? The officials glance his way but do not repeat themselves. They don't need to. He heard it, and he understands exactly what it means. A slow, dawning horror. Whitman grips the edge of his bench. His fingers tighten around his gavel as if it's the last thing tethering him to power. He turns to watch Maya gathering her papers. She moves with a quiet certainty, a confidence he suddenly recognizes, but not as a threat to be dismissed. No, this is something else entirely. This is inevitability, the desperate question. The thought is unbearable. He needs answers, now. His voice is gruffer than usual, forced into control as he calls out her name. Judge Whitman, sharper than intended. Ms. Turner. A word. In my chambers, now. Maya pauses, glancing at him. Then slowly she sets down her briefcase and nods. The tables turn. Whitman stands behind his desk, pacing as she enters. His usual arrogance is gone, replaced by something close to desperation. Judge. Whitman, tense, barely keeping composure. What's going on? Maya tilts her head, feigning mild curiosity. Maya, measured, unbothered. You'll have to be more specific, Your Honor. His jaw clenches. He doesn't have time for games. His world is shifting under him, and she knows it. Judge Whitman, frustrated, leaning forward. They were talking about you, about replacing me, is it true? Maya watches him carefully. She lets the silence hang between them because she can. Maya, finally, with quiet finality. Judge Whitman, I'd start packing up my office if I were you. A beat of silence, then another. His face drains of color. His hands clench. His entire career, his legacy, his control over this courtroom crumbling before him. The fall of a man who thought he'd always win. Whitman's shoulders slump. He swallows hard, gripping the edge of his desk as though trying to steady himself. Judge, Whitman, barely above a whisper, you think you've won. Maya exhales slowly, then steps closer, looking him dead in the eye. Maya, soft but unwavering. No, I think justice has. She turns, walking away without another word, because there is nothing else to say. For the first time, Whitman is powerless, and Maya Turner is exactly where she was always meant to be. News spreads quickly. Maya Turner has been officially nominated as the next judge. Headlines flood media outlets, declaring her historic appointment. Reporters discuss her credentials, her cases, and the barriers she has shattered. The legal community reacts. Some celebrate the long-overdue progress, expressing admiration for Maya's resilience and expertise. Others whisper in skepticism, their reluctance masked by polite applause. The weight of expectation settles on Maya's shoulders, but she stands firm knowing she is ready. Whitman's hollow congratulations. A public statement is issued by Whitman's office, congratulating Maya on her appointment. His words are carefully chosen, but they lack sincerity. Behind closed doors, frustration festers. His once unshakable authority has been uprooted, replaced by someone he spent years dismissing. To his allies he mutters bitterly that this appointment is political, not earned. The truth stings too much for him to admit. Maya Turner proved herself long before the title was given to her. A walk through a different door, Maya arrives at the courthouse, the same building where she once fought for recognition. But today, she does not enter as an attorney arguing for a client. Today she enters as a judge. She steps into the chambers, the office once ruled by Whitman. The air feels familiar yet changed. The mahogany desk, the tall bookshelves, the heavy chair, these symbols of power, once wielded against her, now belong to her. For a moment she stands still, allowing herself to absorb the significance of this moment. Every insult, every dismissal, every battle led her here. A conversation that bridges generations. A hesitant knock at the door breaks the silence. A young black law student, assigned to shadow her, stands uncertainly at the threshold. The student hesitates before speaking, eyes wide with awe and curiosity. She finally asks the question that lingers in the minds of many. Did Maya ever think this day would come? Maya's response is steady, her voice carrying years of struggle and triumph. She never stopped fighting for it. The student nods, understanding that this moment is bigger than just one woman. It is a symbol of possibility, a testament to perseverance. The gavel that signals change. The courtroom doors open. Lawyers, defendants, and spectators take their seats. The murmurs fade as Maya steps forward, her presence commanding. She moves with quiet confidence, wearing the robe that signifies her new role. The weight of responsibility sits on her shoulders, but she carries it with grace. The bailiff's voice rings clear, announcing her title. The words hold power, resonating through the room. For the first time, a black woman presides over this bench. The shift is undeniable. Maya lifts the gavel, feeling its solid weight in her hand. The courtroom watches, waiting. She brings it down with purpose, justice rewritten. She surveys the room, recognizing faces from past cases, past battles. The system is still flawed, but today marks the beginning of change. She clears her throat, ready to speak the words that will define this new chapter. Let's begin.